Chapter 11 Deception. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 10,000-year soul rings. As the 3 soul rings emitting black light appeared at Wu Xing's feet, Yu Feng couldn't help but widen his eyes, swallowed his saliva and exclaimed with difficulty. Many students on the side were even dumbfounded, with horrified eyes, unable to believe that the scene before them was real, soul rings that surpassed the knowledge of the soul master world. Such a sight completely shocked their jaws. They all thought that they were dreaming. Otherwise, how could there be a soul master in the world who could achieve the first soul ring of 10,000 years? The situation. 3 soul rings, all 3 are deep black, so dazzling, so incomparable, impacting everyone's heart. After rubbing his eyes, Yu Feng made sure that he was not dazzled or hallucinating, and then asked in shock, "Origin, how did you achieve this soul ring?" That you must know that every soul master has an age limit for absorbing soul rings at each stage. If he forcibly absorbs a soul ring that is older than his own soul power can support, he will usually explode and die, but it was simply unbelievable that the man in front of him was safe and sound. "Teacher Yu, I don't know. Maybe my martial spirit is a bit special. It's not like ordinary blue-silver grass. Maybe it's the king of blue-silver grass, which allows me to absorb the 10,000-year soul ring across the years. Wu Xing, of course, I won't tell you about the perfect soul ring. I can only make up a few random sentences. As for whether you believe it or not, it depends on the other party." Hearing Wu Xing's answer, Yu Feng was stunned, but seeing that the other party didn't look like he was lying, he frowned again, but soon he understood that it didn't matter to him, no matter how he did it. No matter what, he is not the emperor of the blue-silver grass. One thing he is sure of is that he has found a treasure. No matter what the blue-silver grass is, no matter what the waste martial soul is, with the blessing of the 10,000-year soul ring, even waste can be turned into treasure. He believes that if he brings Wu Xing back to Tiandou Royal Academy, he will definitely win the favor of the dean of the academy. Great appreciation, the position will be further improved accordingly. Thinking of this, Yu Feng's eyes softened when he looked at the other person, staring at him so hard that Wu Xing got goosebumps and wondered if the instructor had any other hobbies. After calming down his excitement, Yu Feng suddenly thought of something, and then asked, "No, Origin, how did you get the 10,000-year soul ring? Not to mention being able to absorb a 10,000-year soul ring, how did the opponent, a level 30 civilian soul master, obtain it? You must know that 10,000-year soul beasts are not something that a soul master can hunt, not to mention that his first ring is a 10,000-year soul ring." When Wu Xing released his soul ring, he thought that the other party would ask this question, and had already thought of the wording. "Teacher Yu, when I first obtained the soul ring, I met an old and dying person. The soul beast, at that time, I didn't know it was a 10,000-year soul beast. I just sat on the ground and absorbed it without thinking much after killing it with a last-ditch attack. It wasn't until I successfully absorbed it that I discovered that it was a 10,000-year soul ring. After I discovered that I could absorb a 10,000-year-old soul ring, I went to the soul beast forest to try my luck when my soul power reached level 20. Because I didn't want to absorb a 10,000-year-old soul ring, I stayed there for 8 or 9 months. And this time I went to the Sunset Forest because I had reached level 30 soul power, but I accidentally got lost." At the end of the sentence, Wu Xing spread his hands helplessly. Listening to Wu Xing's explanation, Yu Feng's face was filled with excitement. After absorbing the soul ring for the first time, he encountered a soul beast that was on the verge of death. Or was it a 10,000-year soul beast? And the absorption was successful? No one else is as lucky as you. And the second time, for the 10,000-year soul ring, you stayed in the soul beast forest for 7 or 8 months. So perseverant. Finally, this time, I actually got lost. But it's good to get lost, otherwise how could he find the treasure? The students next to them didn't know what to say at this time, and their mouths were all open, as if they were listening to a book from heaven. What happened to this guy must be too mysterious. "Huh, good boy, I didn't expect you to have such an experience, but it opened my eyes to the teacher." Yu Feng, who had recovered for a long time, laughed again and slapped Wu Xing hard on the shoulder. "This time is different from before, his eyes are extremely eager, as if he is admiring some unique treasure. If what the other party said is true, his talent will be increased by a few points. After all, during the time he went to the Soul Beast Forest to try his luck, this kid must not have practiced much. Excluding the 2 wasted time, it doesn't mean that he is not 21 years old yet. A civilian soul master trained by the academy? Origin, it turns out you still have such a past. At this time, Su Ruashi's eyes were as charming as silk, and when she looked at Wu Xing, she wanted to eat him on the spot. She was a little disappointed just now. Wu Xing's martial soul was blue-silver grass, but after seeing the 3 soul rings released by the other party, this idea was long forgotten. The bonus brought by the 10,000-year soul ring completely made up for it. Not to mention Wu Huan's shortcomings, they even far exceeded his expectations. She was already attracted to Wu Xing, but how could she remain indifferent after learning that he was a genius? Facing Su Ruashi's bold wink, Wu Xing's heart was filled with excitement. He had only just arrived in Douluo Continent for a few days, and a beautiful woman threw himself into his arms. It was so satisfying, although the woman in front of him was just a small sidekick, and she only appeared for less than a minute. Her appearance and figure touched his heart, so he naturally didn't mind if she turned on him. I have to say that the 2-dimensional character is great. Even if it is a small character, her appearance is at the level of a goddess in modern times. He felt a little jealous in his heart, but Wu Xing showed a very calm look on his face and said, I am just lucky, it is just a coincidence. I should not be so valued by you, teacher. Okay. Hearing this, Yu Feng laughed heartily again. Although he was also arrogant, seeing his students being so humble in front of him only made him love him even more. This is human nature. After laughing, Yu Feng pretended to think for a while and said seriously, Yuan, didn't you ask the teacher before when the elite competition of the All-Continental Advanced Soul Master Academy will start? It just so happens that the team led by the teacher still lacks a strong controller. Soul Master, just join in. He understood that given Wu Xing's situation, if he returned to Tiandou Royal Academy, he would definitely be the target of competition among the instructors, and he had to first draw the other person into his camp. With the addition of this kid, it is possible to catch up with the first team. If he achieves good results in the competition, he will be able to rise to the top and gain both fame and fortune. When Su Ruashi heard what Yu Feng said, she immediately looked at Wu Xing eagerly and almost agreed on his behalf. It's up to the teacher's orders. Wu Xing replied slightly as he didn't seem to notice Su Ruashi's eager look. Origin, we will be teammates from now on. As soon as she finished speaking, Su Ruashi shouted happily. Wu Xing smiled and said, please give me your advice. When Yu Feng saw it, his face was filled with a satisfied smile. This trip to Sunset Forest was really a fruitful one. When the other students saw this, joy flashed in their hearts. The previous indifference and disdain had disappeared without a trace long after the other party released the 10,000-year soul ring. With such a teammate, it is definitely a good thing for them. What a help, they could still understand this. Even the 2 male students who had some thoughts towards Su Ruashi also withdrew some hostility. They naturally chose the former between the king and the beauty. Chapter 12 Popular Science for Beauties. You are listening at novelful.audio. After 3 days of journey, the entire team walked out of the Sunset Forest, and Wu Xing finally saw the city in this world. The architecture was not much different from what was seen in the anime, with a more ancient Western style. After another half-day trip, the group entered the Tiandou Royal Academy. The entire academy was huge and stood in the mountains. There was a huge lake in the center, surrounded by mountains and rivers, and the environment was very beautiful. As expected of the highest academic institution in the Tiandou Empire, it is so impressive. Wu Xing sighed secretly in his heart, looking at Wu Xing with a slightly shocked face. Su Ruashi on the side couldn't help but smile and asked, Yuan, how are you? Isn't it nice here? After 3 days of getting along, Su Ruashi became even more attracted to the man in front of her, just because of the great strength he showed. Although the martial soul is blue-silver grass, with the blessing of the 10,000-year soul ring, it can bind the soul beast tightly, creating the best output environment for the entire team, which is a qualitative leap. they never thought that with a powerful control soul master, it would be so easy to face soul beasts, and they would not have to worry about their own danger at all. It was safe and efficient, for this reason. After a few days, everyone recognized Wu Xing, including the two male students who had thoughts about Su Ruoshi. Well, it's majestic and beautiful. Wu Xing nodded. Su Ruoshi smiled knowingly after hearing this. Tiandou Royal Academy is the top academy in the empire, and its scale and environment are naturally good. Led by Yu Feng, Wu Xing walked across the wide road and met the 3 members of the education committee of the college. After learning about his situation, several people were also very surprised. After recording all the information, they then went to the under the leadership of the team members. He was placed in a dormitory. The dormitory where the students of Tiandou Royal Academy lived was not a dormitory with multiple people like the previous university. Instead, each person had a single room. This made Wu Xing even more impressed by the Royal Academy's abundant funds. By the time everything was settled, it was already evening. I remembered that I had not completed the diary task today, so I couldn't wait to open the system and start writing. It's not easy, it's not easy. Dear beauties, I finally walked out of the forest today and came to a gathering place of humans. Because I was looking for a place to stay, I was quite busy during the day, so the update is a little late today. Sorry to all the beauties. Wu Xing did not say that he had joined the Tiandou Royal Academy before. He only said that he met someone in the forest and planned to leave with their team, so he also concealed some things in his writing. The girls who were reading the diary suddenly realized after seeing what Wu Xing said. No wonder the owner of the diary updated it so late today. It turned out that it was for this reason that they thought the other party would not update it today. Through communicating with them these days, I already know the specific timeline of the anime, so let's talk about what will happen next today. However, due to my time travel and the fact that you can see my diary, the original plot may change, but the difference will not be too big. At this point in time, there are only about 10 months before the Continental Advanced Soul Master Academy Elite Competition, which means that everyone from Shrek Academy should be on their way to Tiandou City. The purpose of course is to join the Tiandou Royal Academy for the sake of the competition. Quota. However, something interesting happened during this period, which ultimately led to them not joining the Royal Academy and entering Lanba Academy instead. Of course, this happened because they encountered an avalanche at the entrance of the college. Some people may not know who Xuebing is. He is the 4th prince of the Tiandou Empire. What should I say about this man? On the surface he looks very dandy and arrogant, but in reality he is not that unbearable. I won't reveal too much about the specifics, but I want to warn Xue's wife. No, it was a slip of the tongue, it's beauty Xue, you have to be on guard against him. According to his disguised style, when he saw Shrek and the others arriving, he knew that there was a conflict between the two sides without even thinking about it. In the end, he was educated, and then he naturally called Prince Snow Star. This is a common trick in novels. The younger ones come to the older ones. Under the intervention of Prince Snow Star, Shrek Academy was naturally unable to join Tiandou Royal Academy and left in disgrace. The Shrek people who defected to the academy had no choice but to enter Tiandou City to find a place to stay. They happened to encounter information about Lanba Academy recruiting tutors, and the group successfully joined it. Speaking of this, another interesting thing emerged. Lu Erlong, the dean of Lanba Academy, and Flanders, the dean of Shrek Academy, are old acquaintances, and they are cousins with Yu Xiaojiang. In addition, the 3 of them also have a famous name on the mainland, known as the Golden Triangle. I don't know if you, Lu Erlong, have gotten a copy of the diary. If you are reading it, I have to complain about one thing: how can you like your cousin? Don't you know that marriage between close relatives is dangerous? And Zhu Zhuqing, you are here too. The Dai family and the Zhu family of the Star Luo Empire have been married for generations. Have you never considered this issue? But I can't blame you. After all, what is popular among you is soul power, and technology is not developed. So let me educate you beauties about science. Incest marriage is very dangerous, and the offspring will be more or less hidden. With disease. For example, it will increase the incidence of genetic diseases in some children, and it will also increase the chance of children having deformities. There are all kinds of things. In short, it is very dangerous. Even if you don't have the disease, you are lucky. If you think about it carefully, does your family and sect have many phenomena like what I mentioned above? So it is not advisable to marry close relatives, at least 3 generations or more. Otherwise, just wait and see. I am not alarmist, nor am I talking nonsense because I am thinking about you. I admit that I like beauties, but I won't be so tasteless and deliberately provoke. I am doing it entirely for your own good. If you don't believe it, you can ignore it. Anyway, it's not me who is hurt. There is also Beauty Donger. Yu Xiaojiang is not a good match. This guy is just a white-eyed wolf, an ungrateful guy. As for his character, I will tell you in detail later. Let's continue to return to the topic just now. As the diary written by Wu Xing came to this point, all the girls in Douluo Continent had a look of horror in their hearts. Is marriage between close relatives so harmful? As a beauty from one of those big families and sects, when I think about it carefully, I suddenly get goosebumps. It seems like what Wu Xing said is true. Most of the children who get married within the 3rd generation are weak and sick, and have serious deformities. Some beauties who have nothing to do with the above are thinking about other things, such as Dugu and Lingling. She is thinking about whether Wu Xing can really predict the future and see the future ending. This time they were able to get verification from Wu Xing's diary to see if, as the other party said, Shrek Academy would have a conflict with Xuebang, and then end up leaving due to the intervention of Prince Snow Star. In the diaries of the past few days, they all knew what Shrek Academy was like, and why Wu Xing always mentioned them. Chapter 13 Weird Rewards. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Lanba Academy. In a small wooden house in the forest outside the main campus area, Lu Erlong was sitting in front of a chair outside with a pale look on his face. At first she was very happy when the owner of the diary said that Yu Xiaojiang would come to her Lanba Academy, but then the conversation changed and she felt like she was struck by lightning. Marriage between close relatives is not advisable. There are various dangers in getting married among close relatives. Regarding Wu Xing's example, as a child of the blue electric Tyrannosaurus rex family, she thought about it briefly and realized that the other party was not talking nonsense. It was because of this knowledge that she became devastated. She likes Yu Xiaojiang and her cousin, but now she is asked to cut off this relationship. How can she do it if she wants to? So much so that when Wu Xing later said that Yu Xiaojiang was a white-eyed wolf and ungrateful, she didn't even look at it. In the Tiandou Imperial Palace, Qian Renxue looked at Wu Xing's description in the diary and narrowed her eyes slightly, flashing through Xuebang's past actions in her mind. If it hadn't been for Wu Xing's reminder, she really wouldn't have noticed this prince who was just waiting to die. It turned out that this guy had always been pretending before, but she let herself miss him. Now that she knows, she will naturally no longer despise the other party. Qian Renshue's eyes flashed with light. It seemed that her plan needed to change, and she had to add the unstable factor of avalanche. Qian Renxue remembered Wu Xing's kindness in her heart and didn't care when he deliberately called her his wife, but then she saw Wu Xing talking about that woman, and her calm heart suddenly beat. Yu Xiaojiang. This is a name she has never heard of before, but what is the relationship between this man and that woman? Although she didn't like that woman, she had to admit that that woman was her mother, and her mother actually had an entanglement with a man other than her father. Suddenly she seemed to know why that woman was so indifferent to her. She wanted to confirm her guess and continue to look at the diary to get the answer, but the other party no longer talked about it. After joining Lanba Academy, due to the relationship between the three of them, Lu Erlong was handed over to Flanders for management. From then on, Lanba Academy was renamed Shrek Academy. Of course, there will be a Senior Soul Master Academy Elite competition 10 months later. Of participation places. Despite their young age, they made great progress all the way, passed 5 levels and defeated 6 generals, and finally won the championship. Donger, all the soul bones you originally prepared for Nana were used as wedding dresses for the double standard Tang San. I feel sad when I say this. If I can participate in the Soul Master competition, I will never let this sanctimonious guy succeed. My poor wife Nana, if I have a chance, my husband will avenge you. This guy. It's so scumbag and shameless. Huliena, who was reading the diary, didn't turn red. Just now she deliberately called someone else's wife, and now she calls herself wife. Do you really think of her as a random girl? Although she was full of criticism about the other party, Huliena was still a little happy in her heart. After all, she could make a man she had never met think about her, and this man was not ordinary, which was enough to prove her charm. Well, women are such strange creatures. After pouting at the owner of the diary, Huliena quickly put away her thoughts, her face became extremely serious, and her eyes became even firmer. She could never forget that when she and her brother were in the most danger when they were children, it was their teacher who saved them. Moreover, the teacher spared no effort to cultivate her, gave her the best environment and the best academy, and even personally guided her and cultivated her as a successor. It can be said that without the teacher, she would not be where she is now. She has always been proud of her teacher, and she has always been proud that her teacher is happy to see her achieve success. She values Wahundian's honor more than herself. She cannot let her teacher's cultivation go to waste. No matter what, she cannot. If you lose to Tang San, you can't lose to this so-called son of fate. Besides, this child of fate is so disgusting. Then again, I am still looking forward to the Continental Advanced Soul Master Academy Elite Competition, and I will definitely go to Tiandou City to see it in person. After all, there are so many beauties participating in this competition: Xiao Wu, Zhu Qing, Rong, not to mention you three beauties, but also the girl group of Tianshui College. All of them are fair-skinned and beautiful. Huo Wu is long-legged and has a bit of a bad temper. On the contrary, Yi Lingling, who is as gentle as water, is one of the most beautiful beauties. In the Xinglua Empire, Zhu Qing's sister is also one, and that leg-breaking attack can kill people. Oh, let's stop talking. I can't wait to see you all. I'll just write this for today. See you all beauties tomorrow. Seeing the last few sentences in Wu Xing's diary, all the girls rolled their eyes. Since you can't wait so hard, you came to us, and maybe I'll follow you. After several days of contact, they already know that this guy Wu Xing always teases them before the end, and they are used to it. It's just that this guy obviously has a strong mouth and a strong heart, but he doesn't dare to come to them. He's scared to death and is unwilling to reveal any useful information about himself. Bah, coward! Wu Xing didn't know that he was labeled as a coward by all the beauties. At this time, his mind was full of MMP and he didn't know whether to say it or not. Ever since I got the diary system, the rewards have been getting worse day by day. From the awakening of the martial soul at the beginning, to the soul rings for 2 consecutive days, and then to all kinds of weird items, there is nothing to improve my strength. Today is even more outrageous. The reward is a box of Durex balloons. Are you kidding? I would use this thing. Need to use this thing. You don't take his concentration seriously. I think before I traveled through time, I had a few girlfriends, and I didn't even need that thing, because the feeling of using it was so different from not using it. Besides, are you using this thing to play with women or with rubber? If Wu Xing goes to some romantic places, there is no problem in using these, but there are so many beauties in Douluo Continent, he needs to go to such a place to vent his energy. Not to mention the beauties in the distant copy of the diary, there is Su Ruoshi nearby. As long as he sends a proper signal, the other party will probably send him up immediately. With a contemptuous look at the diary system, Wu Xing picked up the balloon and threw it into the nearby trash can. Just as he turned off the light and planned to go to sleep, the next second he picked it up again and silently put it into the soul guide awarded by the Academy. No one saw it. No one should have seen it, right? All lights are turned off. Just when Wu Xing was proud of his deception, there was a crisp knock on the door, followed by a light voice. Origin, are you asleep? Wu Xing. Hearing the sound outside the door, he thought of the reward just now. He suspected that the system was definitely intentional, otherwise there would be such a coincidence. Su Ruoshi came to him just after giving him the balloon. Chapter 14 Hunter or Prey. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ruoshi, why do you want to see me so late? Wu Xing's eyes suddenly lit up when he opened the door to the room. At this time, Su Ruoshi was wearing a black loose leather coat, with a huge collar open outwards. At a glance, she could see the plump white chest. The tight black leather pants and short black high-heeled shoes exposed her slender legs. Shown vividly, of course, the most eye-catching thing was the zippered openings on both sides of her thighs, revealing the white and tender skin inside. The black and white color made Wu Xing unable to look away from her eyes. Su Ruoshi's outfit was exactly the one she wore during the elite competition of the Continental Advanced Soul Master Academy. Sensing Wu Xing's hot eyes, Su Ruoshi felt happy, but on the surface she shook her short blonde wavy hair calmly and said coquettishly, "Can't I come to you if I have nothing to do?" "Well, of course not." Wu Xing smiled slightly and moved away while speaking. He naturally understood what the other party wanted to come to him for. In the past few days, the woman in front of him had been ogling him and seducing him. If it hadn't been in the wild, with his mentor and team members, she would have sneaked into him long ago. Under the covers, now that I'm back at the academy, I can no longer bear to send myself up. Faced with such a beautiful girl actively trying to find her, Wu Xing had no reason to refuse. It was just a little regrettable that after a few days of getting along, Su Ruoshi in front of him didn't seem to have a copy of his diary. It would be even better if she had a copy of the diary. Entering the room, Su Ruoshi looked around, then sat down and said, Yuan, how do you feel? Can you get used to it? It's good, but it's a bit wasteful to live alone. He closed the door and came to sit next to Su Ruoshi. Wu Xing said with a faint smile, he was not talking nonsense. Although the dormitory was a single room, it was not small in size. In addition to the beds, the balcony and the bathroom next to the balcony, there were desks, wardrobes, and even sofas and tea tables, all of which reflected the royal look of Tiandou. The college has deep pockets. Hearing Wu Xing's answer and looking at the other person's meaningful expression, Su Ruoshi's face turned slightly red. Although she came here so late, she originally hoped to have something romantic with him, but a girl's instinct cannot be changed. Then do you want me to find someone to live with you? Su Ruoshi said softly, with a smile on her lips. Wu Xing pretended to scan around, and then said with a smile, okay, it would be better if a beauty like you, Ruoshi, lives here. You are so beautiful that you want me to live in you. Su Ruoshi rolled her eyes at Wu Xing. She already looked like a royal sister and was even more charming. Looking at the seductive Su Ruoshi, Wu Xing smiled slightly. This woman was really good at seducing people. She was obviously so proactive, but she still played tricks of lust. However, Wu Xing has no intention of criticizing this point. He is not a straight man, so he naturally understands that women like duplicity. Of course, he couldn't let go of the fat he had obtained. He immediately put on a disappointed expression and said, that would be a pity. I thought I could share a dormitory with you, Ruoshi. You guys, I'm afraid you often tricked girls before. Su Ruoshi rolled her eyes at Wu Xing. She could tell that this man was also an old lover. When Wu Xing heard this, his face was startled, and he immediately shook his head and said, how is it possible? I have always been a gentleman and have never deceived a girl. At least not when he traveled through Douluo, he added in his heart. Do you think I will believe it? Su Ruoshi hummed. Seeing the pouting look of the other party, Wu Xing calmly grabbed the other party's slender hand and put it on his chest. If you don't believe it, touch my heart to see if I am lying. Wu Xing's bold move made Su Ruoshi's hand tremble, but she did not pull it back, but blushed and felt the other person's heartbeat. Seeing that the other party had no intention of refusing, Wu Xing became bold again, grabbed the other person's other hand with one hand, and said, Ruoshi, do you feel it? If a person lies, his heartbeat will definitely speed up, and I am so even. How could I deceive you? For the sake of his own sexual happiness, and in order to win over the beautiful woman in front of him as soon as possible, Wu Xing didn't care how greasy his words were, and put on an affectionate look. The other hand was held tightly by the opponent again. Su Ruoshi's face turned hot. She was already very attracted to Wu Xing, but how could she withstand such an attack? Her heart was beating wildly. I just believe you. Su Ruoxi said in a low voice, not daring to look at Wu Xing. Wu Xing saw that it was almost the same, with a trace of amusement on his face, and then said, "Then Ruoxi, did you agree to share a dormitory with me?" Su Ruoxi responded subconsciously, but soon realized that she had somehow fallen into the opponent's trap. Just as she was about to object, Wu Xing interrupted her. "That's great, Ruoxi, thank you for your trust." Wu Xing shouted, pretending to be happy. What a joke, how could he let the other party have a chance to regret it and settle the matter immediately? Su Ruoxi was dumbfounded at this time. She originally thought she was a hunter, but now she seems to be the prey. Original. Su Ruoxi, who had come back to her senses, wanted to say something, but her sexy red lips were blocked by Wu Xing. After letting go for a long time, Wu Xing saw Su Ruoxi, who was blushing and lowering her head, not daring to look at him. He showed a playful smile, put his arms around her waist, and then took her into his arms. All this happened naturally, as if it were so natural that it could blind a group of singles from the Tiandou Royal Academy. At the same time, Wu Xing raised his eyebrows and communicated with the diary system in his mind. "Go system, look, do I need to use the things you gave me? I am not the one who takes action to success. System, then why did you pick that thing back just now?" After talking to the system, Wu Xing took back his thoughts. He was not Lu Xiaohui. He couldn't bear to have such a beautiful woman refuse to eat. He felt sorry for the majority of senior time travelers and the majority of readers. He stretched out his hand to hold Su Ruoxi's chin and gently lifted it up, looking at the delicate beauty, who was still a perfect royal sister. He kissed her softly again. This time he didn't want to stop there, and his loose hands followed him dishonestly. But just when he was about to go deep into his collar and climb Mount Everest, Su Ruoxi blocked his evil hand and said breathlessly, "This, Origin, no, we are too fast." "How could it be too fast? I already liked you when I first met Ruoxi." "You should think so too, right?" Wu Xing asked affectionately, and then said, "Don't you like it?" "No. That's not what I meant." Seeing Wu Xing's sincere expression, Su Ruoxi shook her head quickly. "That's all right, be good, be obedient, and leave everything to me." Wu Xing coaxed gently in her ear. After hearing this, Su Ruoxi subconsciously let go of her blocking hand. Chapter 15 Tiandou Royal Academy. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The next day, the sun slowly rises from the horizon, and the warm sunshine shines on Tiandou Royal Academy, showing its majesty and domineering power. In a dormitory, Wu Xing woke up from his sleep and looked at Su Ruoxi, who was still sleeping tightly in his arms, with a knowing smile on his face. Yesterday, under his offensive, Su Ruoxi, who was already heartbroken, naturally did not escape his clutches and became his woman half-heartedly, but what Wu Xing didn't expect was that it was Su Ruoxi's first time. He thought that this woman was so proactive. She thought she was an experienced driver like him, but he never thought she was still a young driver. This surprised him, and at the same time, he slightly changed his original thoughts. Originally, his plan was just to have a casual relationship with the other person, but now he can no longer consider it that way. After all, men are possessive, not to mention the possessiveness of men, especially for the woman who gave him the first time. Although living in the 21st century, few people pay attention to chastity, and Wu Xing, who follows the trend, is no exception, but who doesn't want his woman to be the first? Therefore, now he no longer regards the other party as an object for casual play, but as his own woman. No wonder many people on the internet in the past life want to travel back to ancient times and marry ancient beauties as wives. Wu Xing now has a profound understanding of this. In this aspect alone, how many women in modern times can do it? As for why Su Ruoxi was so proactive and even handed herself over to him for the first time, Wu Xing probably knew the reason. In Douluo Continent, the strong are respected, and it is not uncommon for women to admire strength. Even in modern society, this is the case, but women have been changed to admire money. But the only difference is that the thoughts of women in this world are similar to those of ancient women in previous lives. Although Wu Xing cannot be called a strong man now, he can definitely do it in the future. After all, a 30-level soul master has 3 10,000-year soul rings. Looking at the entire soul master world, it is definitely a miracle. This alone is enough to attract women, not to mention his appearance and temperament, which add countless points. Just imagine, in modern society, what girl would not be attracted by a rich and handsome man? If he hadn't taken the initiative, he would have been snatched away by another woman. The same is true for Wu Xing now. If Su Ruoshi doesn't take action, she may not be able to do anything until it's too late. Gently taking the other person's hand away from his neck, Wu Xing carefully moved Su Ruoshi away from his body, and then stretched out to get up. His movement did not cause Su Ruoshi to open her eyes. Yesterday's battle made her very tired. Wu Xing was like an indestructible ox, plowing the wasteland that had never been cultivated until it was very fertile. No matter how big the move is, the other party may not wake up until noon. This is also due to Wu Xing's physical fitness. It seems that the world is indeed as vulnerable as uploaded on the internet. After washing up, Wu Xing left his room without waking Su Ruoshi. Yesterday, because he was following Yu Feng to go through the admission procedures, he didn't have time to get familiar with the environment of Tiandou Royal Academy. Today, he could take a good look around. Brother Benyuan, are you up? Wu Xing met a student not far out of the dormitory. This student is a member of the Tiandou second team, named Zhan Minghui. The reason why he called Wu Xing Brother Benyuan was not only impressed by Wu Xing's strength, but also because he was older than him. Good morning Minghui. Wu Xing greeted the other party with a smile. Zhan Minghui also smiled and asked, Brother Benyuan, where are you going so early? That everyone had just returned to the academy from the Sunset Forest and had a 3-day rest period, so even the entire team did not need to gather early in the morning for classes. I plan to go shopping around. Wu Xing replied casually. Oh. Zhan Minghui's eyes lit up after hearing this, and then he said, Then do you want me to take you for a walk around the academy? Okay. Wu Xing agreed to the other party's kindness without thinking. He was unfamiliar with the place, and it was his first time to go to Tiandou Royal Academy. Having a guide would help him get familiar with the atmosphere and environment of the academy more quickly. As for Wu Xing, he felt that his decision was very correct during the next stroll. The main reason was that Tiandou Royal Academy was really too big. If he was alone, he would not get lost. But he would definitely walk more. A few turns, listening to Zhan Minghui's introduction to each place he visited, Wu Xing nodded. Along the way, he also found that many students were very enthusiastic and took the initiative to say hello to them. In the anime, Shrek had just arrived at Tiandou Royal Palace. The treatment in the academy was simply two different extremes. Regarding this point, Wu Xing expressed his understanding. Zhan Minghui was able to represent the Tiandou second team in the Soul Master Academy competition and was also a popular figure in the academy. It was not surprising that the students greeted him warmly. Under Zhan Minghui's tour guide, Wu Xing visited most of the buildings in the college, and then moved on to the next place. Soon, the two came to another important place in the academy. Looking from a distance, they could see a large and wide field in front of them. In the center of the field, there were circular platforms made of special stones. There are many students gathered around one of the platforms, and various lights can be vaguely seen coming from the platform. Brother Benyuan, in front of us is the arena where the academy provides our students with exchanges. Let's go over and have a look. Zhan Minghui smiled immediately when he saw many students surrounding the venue in the distance. Yes. Wu Xing nodded. He also wanted to know how Tiandou Royal Academy cultivates the practical combat abilities of soul masters. Arriving in front of the onlookers, Zhan Minghui showed off his status in the academy, and the originally packed crowd all involuntarily gave way to a path. When he came to the front and saw the soul masters competing on the ring, Wu Xing was stunned for a moment. Although there were several soul masters in the field constantly releasing their soul skills to fight, this was not the reason for his surprise. The main reason was that it was he who saw several familiar figures. Dugu, who was dressed in blue, and Lingling, who was dressed in silver, were the beauties who impressed him most when watching anime. As for the male students, whoever watches anime will go to the male students. Even the girls ignored most of them under the camera that Xuanji Empress deliberately played. seeing the soul masters on the field, Zhang Minghui had a look of astonishment on his face at first, and then he became happy. He didn't expect that today would be such a coincidence, and he would meet the two most popular goddesses in the academy, and the most powerful Yutian. Constant, just now he was wondering why there were so many people watching around him. According to the past situation, this phenomenon would never happen. It turned out that the strongest team in the academy was competing, which can be explained clearly. Suppressing the joy in his heart, Zhang Minghui looked at Wu Xing on the side, intending to introduce a few people on the field to him, but found that the other party was staring at the two goddesses intently at this time, and suddenly burst into laughter. "Brother Benyuan, aren't you pretty?" Zhang Minghui whispered with a smile that every man would understand. "What?" Wu Xing was lamenting that the world is so small. Hearing Zhang Minghui's words, he couldn't help but be stunned. When he turned around and saw the winking look on his face, he suddenly understood something and felt funny. This guy doesn't think he's just staring at Dugu Yan and Yi Lingling, right? Chapter 16 Dugu Yan, Yi Lingling. You are listening at Audio. Although beauties are beauties, they are pleasing to the eye, but Wu Xing is not the kind of person who can't move when he sees a beauty. Besides, after last night's release, he is still in the state of a sage, so it is even less possible for him to be dumbfounded. The reason for this is mainly because it is placed on the soul rings of the two women, based on the time since the elite competition of the Continental Advanced Soul Master Academy. Their soul battle with Shrek Academy had lasted about 3 months. If he remembered correctly, Dugu Yan's soul power level at that time should have been level 38 Soul Master. In 3 months, it is not difficult to go from level 38 Soul Master to level 40 Soul Sect, but Yi Lingling is also a Soul Sect, which is very intriguing. She remembers that the other party is a level 35 Soul Master. He has been promoted to 5 levels in 3 months. Judging from the performance of the original work, it is impossible to do it in such a short period of time. The only possibility is that the other party has a copy of the diary. Only by being rewarded with a copy of the diary can the soul power be improved so quickly. In addition to this, what made Wu Xing even more certain that they were the holders of the diary copy was the soul rings of the two women. The 4th ring was both black. Good guy, this Go system is really generous, but it is as unyielding as a rooster to itself. Are they the hosts, or am I the owner of the diary? Wu Xing seriously doubted whether his reward had been divided among these beauties, or else he had been given nothing in the past few days. Hey, Brother Benyuan, don't feel embarrassed. There are not many people in the academy who can resist their charm. Seeing Wu Xingnian rolling his eyes, Zhang Minghui chuckled and continued, but just think about it, they are not. I can pursue it. Oh. Wu Xing raised his eyebrows and asked curiously, how do you say that? Look at their soul rings. They are already soul sections. We are not from the same world. Zhang Minghui explained here, paused slightly, then pointed to Dugu Yan in the field and said, look at the one wearing the blue goddess is named Dugu Yan. Not only is she the strongest female soul master in our academy, but the most important thing is her grandfather. He has a great reputation in the entire Douluo Continent. He is a master of the blue scale Douluo. Titled Douluo. So exaggerated? Wu Xing pretended to be surprised after hearing Zhang Minghui's explanation. That's right. Zhang Minghui nodded proudly, as if he was very impressed by Wu Xing's surprise, and then continued, the other goddess is the strongest female auxiliary soul master in our academy, named Yi Lingling. The martial soul is Jiuxin Begonia. Speaking of this, Zhang Minghui looked at Wu Xing and said solemnly, Brother Benyuan, Jiuxin Haitang knows, maybe not many people know about this martial spirit, but its healing ability is unmatched by any martial spirit, and it can be used without any trace. It is no exaggeration to say that with the support of Jiuxin Haitang, it is not easy for a team to die even if they want to. Yes. Wu Xing nodded seriously and smiled, no wonder you said that, we are indeed not from the same world. Hee hee. Zhang Minghui chuckled, and then said, however, although the two goddesses are out of reach, Sister Ruoshi is not bad at all. With your strength, Brother Benyuan, it must be no problem. Hearing Zhang Minghui mention Su Ruoshi, Wu Xing smiled slightly. This guy was afraid that he didn't know that the other party was completely eaten by him last night and he was still awake, of course, just think about it and say it cannot be said. After introducing the two most popular goddesses in the academy, Zhan Minghui introduced Yu Tianheng and others one after another. After all the introductions, the competition in the field reached the final stage. Yan, you and Lingling's strength has improved too fast. Did Senior Poison Douluo Au give you special training? The battle ended with Yu Tianheng and the two team members losing. In his opinion, Dugu was able to be promoted to the soul sect so quickly and absorb the fourth ring into a 10,000-year soul ring for his own use. It should be because he was unwilling to lose to Shrek Academy in Soto City 3 months ago and sought poison. Senior Douluo Au stimulated his own potential. Dugu, who was wearing a short blue skirt and short hair, regained her soul power and looked heroic. She did not explain too much to Yu Tianheng's words, but nodded slightly on her forehead. Her rapid improvement in strength is not due to her grandfather, but to the reward of a copy of the diary. However, due to an inexplicable rule, except for Lingling, not even her grandfather can see the diary, let alone Yu Tianheng. And Lingling, your strength has improved faster than Yan. How did you do it? In fact, the one who surprised Yu Tianheng and others the most was Lingling. The level 35 Soul Master had been upgraded to 5 levels in 3 months. This speed is probably not as fast as a rocket. Lingling, who was wearing a silver short skirt and had silver hair, was completely opposite to Dugu temperament. She looked very graceful and graceful. Facing the captain's inquiry, she smiled slightly and said, Sister Yan and I have both received guidance from Senior Dugu. She couldn't talk about the copy of the diary, and even if she could, she wouldn't. Therefore, after discussing it with Dugu, they all found such an excuse, so that they would never ask Senior Dugu in person. Everyone who heard this sighed. Grandpa with the title of Douluo Au is really good, and he is really not envious. Yu Tianheng is a disciple of the blue electric Tyrannosaurus Rex family, and his grandfather is also a titled Douluo Au. However, with such a big family that needs to be managed, how can he have the time to run a small business alone like Dugu, who is an only child? Next time we meet those people from Shrek Academy, we will definitely be able to wash away our shame. After sighing, Yu Tianheng couldn't help clenching his fists. He was very unwilling to lose in the last soul fighting competition. After hearing what Yu Tianheng said, everyone tensed up, including Dugu and Lingling. Dugu even said, yes, the elite competition of the continent's advanced Soul Master Academy is coming soon, and we will definitely be able to succeed in revenge. Under the influence of Wu Xing, Dugu who originally disliked Tang San, now feels full of disgust towards him. That's right. Several people nodded heavily. Okay, let's go down. That's it for today's training. After talking, Yu Tianheng, the captain, waved his hand and asked the team members to leave. Everyone said nothing and turned around to prepare to leave. But at the moment they turned around, Dugu heart moved and his eyes fell on a certain location under the stage. Yan. After noticing Dugu behavior, Yu Tianheng and others were stunned. They followed her gaze and saw Wu Xing who was watching from the audience. Then a thought came to their mind, what a handsome boy. A look of surprise flashed across his face, and Yu Tianheng frowned and asked, Yan, do you know that boy? I don't know. Dugu shook his head. Then Yu Tianheng asked. He was not jealous. Although Wu Xing looked a little too good, Dugu was not the kind of girl who would become infatuated when she saw a handsome guy. Dugu did not answer, but asked everyone, isn't this boy a student of our Tiandou Royal Academy? I haven't seen it before, so it shouldn't be. Yu Tianheng and others shook their heads. If they are students from Tiandou Royal Academy, they are so handsome and have such a good temperament. Even if they don't know each other, they will always have an impression after meeting them, but they didn't think about it for a long time. The other party's picture. It should be the student who just joined Tiandou Royal Academy yesterday. Just when everyone was confused, Lingling said, she heard some news yesterday. It seemed that a student was recruited into the Tiandou Royal Academy. Now looking at Zhang Minghui standing next to him, she thought it was this person. Chapter 17 Dugu Yan's Challenge. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Students who just joined the academy yesterday, hearing Lingling's words, Dugu Yan was slightly stunned. Now is not the day for the college to recruit students, but the other party was able to join in, either with a background or a genius, no matter which point it was, she was slightly interested. Without thinking, she pointed at Wu Xing and said, "Hey, what's your name?" As the granddaughter of Poison Douluo, with such a big mountain behind her, Dugu Yan's character naturally appears to be a bit strong, even in Tiandou Royal Academy. As long as she is interested in anything, she will go straight to the matter. Wu Xing, who was about to leave when the competition was over, suddenly saw Dugu Yan on the stage pointing at him, and felt a sense of surprise in his heart. When he was about to answer, Zhang Minghui on the side had already said it for him. Classmate Dugu Yan, his name is Ben Yuan. You may not know that he is a student who just joined the academy yesterday and is also a member of our team. Zhang Minghui's tone was very respectful. He was considered a man of the hour in the Tiandou Royal Academy, but he was completely inferior among the geniuses in the first team. Zhang Minghui, did I ask you this? Dugu Yan said displeased. Ah. Zhang Minghui couldn't help but feel a little embarrassed when he heard this, but he didn't dare to say anything more. He almost forgot that this goddess was not easy to get along with. Withdrawing his gaze, Dugu Yan focused his eyes on Wu Xing again and said, "I'm asking you. Didn't he just say that?" Seeing Dugu Yan acting so forcefully, Wu Xing replied speechlessly. Dugu Yan's face changed slightly. This new guy seemed to be very indifferent to her, and then he said, "You can make an exception and join Tiandou Royal Academy. I think you are quite capable, so come here to learn from each other." Discussion. Wu Xing was stunned. He was aware of Dugu Yan's strong character, but he never thought that the other party would come to discuss with him. Yan. After hearing Dugu Yan's words, Yu Tianhen on the side was a little confused. Even Lingling, a good sister, was a little surprised and didn't know what she had in mind. It's not like being curious. It's not like being angry. Although Dugu Yan is usually a little more forceful, he won't be too much. Dugu Yan waved to several people, looked at Wu Xing, raised his eyebrows and said, "What, you don't dare?" "Of course not." Seeing Dugu Yan's provocative eyes, Wu Xing shook his head in amusement and said, "You have just finished sparring, and your soul power has been consumed a lot. If I win, you will not be able to defeat me." Hiss. Wu Xing's words made everyone present startled at first, and then took a breath of cold air. Wasn't this new classmate's tone too loud? Who is Dugu Yan? She was the darling daughter of Heavendou Royal Academy, and the granddaughter of Jade Scale Douluo. Even though she had spent a lot of soul power just now, she was not so easy to deal with, and the guy in front of him seems to be completely sure. How can he not surprise everyone? Even Zhang Minghui, who was standing next to Wu Xing, was startled by his words. He looked at him in disbelief, as if to say, "Brother, can you stop being so crazy? Although your soul ring is heaven-defying, but the soul power level is far different from that of Dugu Yan, so how can we get a good deal?" "Very good, it seems that you are very confident in your own strength." Dugu Yan was also shocked by Wu Xing's words. She was stunned for a while and then smiled. "I just don't know if your strength can match your appearance. I'm just telling the truth." Wu Xing spread his hands and said calmly. Hearing Wu Xing's arrogant words again, many onlookers were dumbfounded. This guy is so arrogant. You must know that control-type soul masters have a natural advantage in a duel. Even Yu Tianheng dare not say that he can beat Dugu Yan. The boy in front of him is so confident. Is he really a powerful soul master? On the field, Yu Tianheng and others looked at each other and were shocked by Wu Xing's arrogance. They looked at Zhang Minghui with doubts in their eyes. Seeing the sharp looks from several people, Zhang Minghui groaned secretly in his heart, and cold sweat fell from his forehead. "Since you are so confident, then if I recover, you won't be considered invincible." At this moment, Dugu Yan was also aroused by Wu Xing to be competitive. After finishing speaking, he took out a pill from the soul guide and threw it into his mouth. Then he sat down cross-legged and began to recover his soul power. Brother Ben Yuan, you. Zhang Minghui saw Dugu Yen sitting cross-legged in the middle of the ring, as if he was about to face a battle, and he couldn't laugh or cry. Although he recognized Wu Xing's strength, he was not optimistic about winning against Dugu Yen. The main reason was that the difference in soul power levels between the two sides was too big, which could not be compensated by soul rings. Besides, he also had a 10,000-year soul ring. If they had just discussed directly, there might have been a chance, but now there is no chance at all. Before Zhang Minghui could finish speaking, Wu Xing had already waved his hand to interrupt, then jumped onto the stage with a slight jump. Since his martial soul awakened, he had not competed with anyone yet, and he was a little itchy. Since Dugu Yen issued the challenge, he readily accepted it. Yu Tianheng and others on the side were helpless when they saw Dugu Yen recovering his soul power on the spot. They knew that Yen had decided to do something and would not give up easily. They gave Wu Xing a meaningful look before walking down from the ring. Time passed not long ago, and with the blessing of the elixir to restore soul power, Dugu Yen quickly replenished all the lost soul power. After all, it was just a sparring match and not an all-out effort, so it was quite easy to recover. Dugu Yen opened his eyes, stood up from the ground, looked at Wu Xing with bright eyes and said, "I have fully recovered, can we start?" "Okay." Wu Xing nodded without any nonsense. Dugu Yen, Wuhuan Jade Scale Snake, Level 40 Control System War Soul Sect, please give me some advice. Dugu Yen took one look and immediately raised his hands in a gesture of sparring. Seeing Dugu Yen making an instructive gesture, Wu Xing also raised his hand in a similar manner and said softly, "Origin, Martial Spirit Blue Silver Grass, Level 31 Control System Battle Spirit Master." As soon as Wu Xing introduced himself, everyone in the audience exploded into an uproar. Level 3, 31 Soul Power. How dare this guy say he can win the Yen Goddess? I thought this kid was so confident and he was also a famous soul sect, but this is what happened. The most ridiculous thing about this guy's martial spirit is actually Lan Yinchao. Isn't Lan Yinchao a useless martial spirit? In addition to the exclamations of the onlookers, Yu Tianheng and others opened their eyes when they heard Wu Xing expose the information, staring at Wu Xing on the field. They will never forget that they met with Shi in the spirit fighting arena 3 months ago. In the battle at Lake Academy, they lost to Tang San, who had the blue-silver grass martial spirit. Boss, this kid is also a blue-silver grass martial spirit. Mo opened his mouth wide with a look of shock. Yu Tianheng waved his hand, his eyes never leaving Wu Xing's, as if he wanted to see through him. Dugu Yen on the stage was also stunned by Wu Xing's martial spirit. After a long time, he asked word for word, "Is your martial spirit the blue-silver grass?" "That's right, is there any problem?" Wu Xing smiled calmly. No. No. Dugu Yen gritted his teeth, thinking of the humiliation 3 months ago. Doesn't anyone read this subject? Chapter 18 Fight. You are listening at novelfull.audio. As soon as she finished speaking, Dugu Yen took the lead and took action. A ball of green light emerged from the palm of her hand. The green-scaled snake attached to her body opened its huge fangs and moved towards the third soul ring as the purple light bloomed. Green light spurted out, and in an instant a thick mist rose with her as the center, spreading in all directions. The third soul skill is released as soon as it is released. This. Seeing Dugu Yan's signature move, all the students in the audience were shocked. Mo was even more worried. "Captain, Deputy Captain, did she go too far? That you must know that this is just a competition, and Dugu Yan's jade scale snake venom is extremely poisonous. If an ordinary soul master gets a little bit of it, he will die. Even the captain dare not touch it, let alone the kid on the stage who only has level 31 soul power." Yu Tianheng also felt ashamed. He knew that Yan must have been stimulated by the other party. It seemed that she was still brooding about the failure 3 months ago. While his mind was spinning, Yu Tianheng hurriedly said to Lingling beside him, "Lingling, you are going to use Jiuxin Haitang." "Yes." Lingling was already prepared when he saw Dugu Yen using the green-scaled snake venom. If something went wrong, he would take action immediately. After all, it was just a competition between students, and there could be no accidents, but just as she was staring at the stage to avoid an accident, Wu Xing also used his martial soul. A blue-silver grass emerged from the palm of his hand. With the surge of soul power, circles of soul rings rose from beneath his feet, black, black, black. The 3 soul rings blooming with black auras are like fireflies in the darkness, so bright and outstanding. How can it be? 10,000 10,000-year soul rings are still 3. This guy actually has 3,000-year soul rings. Isn't he a soul master? But when they saw the 3 black soul rings rising under Wu Xing's feet, everyone onlookers widened their eyes, as if they had seen a ghost, with expressions of disbelief on their faces. Not only them, but also Yu Tianheng and Shiremo were stunned at this moment. If Dugu Yan's 4th soul ring is a 10,000-year soul ring, everyone can barely accept it, but Wu Xing's 1st soul ring is a 10,000-year soul ring. It seems very shocking, especially Lingling. Her heart was filled with turmoil. She and Duguyan were able to successfully absorb the 10,000-year soul ring in the 4th ring because of the magical opportunity of getting a copy of the diary. But how could the man on the stage also absorb it? 10,000-year soul ring. And all of them are 10,000-year soul rings. In the poisonous mist that filled the sky, Dugu Yen also saw the 10,000-year soul ring rising under Wu Xing's feet. His whole body trembled, and his face showed an expression of disbelief. He originally wanted to control the green-scaled snake to attack. Stopped at this moment. How did you do it? Dugu Yen swallowed his throat and asked after a long time. Hearing Dugu Yan's shocking tone, a smile appeared on Wu Xing's face and he said playfully, "That's how it was done." Dugu Yan's heart beat fiercely, and then he calmed down and said, "No wonder you were specially recruited into Tiandou Academy. Sure enough, you have 2 brushes, but you want to defeat me with this alone. Is nothing more than a fool's dream." Her green-scaled snake venom would make even the Soul King retreat. Unless the other party breaks through his poison formation, she will be invincible, and because of Tang San's clever decryption 3 months ago, she asked her grandfather for advice on how to improve the poison array of the 3rd soul skill. It was no longer possible to take advantage of it. That's why she is so confident and sits firmly on the Daoyutai. Well, then you may be disappointed. Wu Xing chuckled, his indifferent expression reduced. The 1st soul skill, entanglement. As Wu Xing let out a soft drink, black light slowly bloomed under his feet, and countless blue and silver vines quickly emerged from the palms of his hands. Seeing Wu Xing use his 1st soul skill, Dugu Yen subconsciously flashed a solemn look in the poisonous mist. As the saying goes, once bitten by a snake, she is afraid of well ropes for 10 years, even though she knew that her poison formation had passed through under the guidance of her grandfather. He had made all-round improvements, but he was afraid of being tied up by the blue-silver grass vines that suddenly appeared from the other side. Although the poisonous mist is extremely poisonous, even the Soul King will not be in trouble if the soul sect is infected with death or injury. However, if the opponent only attacks from a distance, her poison array cannot spread indefinitely, and the wider the spread range, the more likely it will be. The poisonous mist contains less poison. As a plant, blue-silver grass has a certain resistance to poison, especially the blue-silver grass with the bonus of the opponent's 10,000-year soul ring. I must not be fooled by the opponent's long-range attacks. Fortunately, she was in the poison formation. Unlike other soul masters, she could easily see out through the poisonous mist. Not only that, her perception in the poisonous mist also improved by several %, but just when she was cautiously wary of which direction Wu Xing's blue-silver grass vines would rush into the poisonous mist to attack her, she was dumbfounded the next second. Countless blue-silver grass vines sprang out from his palm, but they did not wrap around her. Instead, they trapped her tightly, like a giant flower bud that had closed. Ah! Everyone who saw this scene was shocked. Did this guy wrap himself up? Captain, what kind of operation is he doing? Several members of the Royal Dou team were also dumbfounded. They had never seen such an outrageous operation before, and they were entangled themselves. Yu Tianheng didn't understand what Wu Xing said and frowned. He didn't believe that the other party would pester him for no reason. Look, it's in the sky. While everyone was puzzled, Lingling saw this huge bud, and a thick vine shot out into the sky and reached the sky above the poisonous mist. As the vines unfolded, like flowers blooming, seeds emitting blue light fell from the sky and fell into the poisonous mist. These seeds. Looking at the seeds falling from the sky, Dugu Yan's pupils shrank in the mist. The scene in front of him was familiar to him. It was the same as when he fought with Tang San before. It was his third soul skill, spider web. Bondage. I really don't understand, this man's first soul skill is just that, how come his third soul skill is the same as Tang San's? Even if it is blue-silver grass, there will be differences in the soul rings it can absorb. If they are exactly the same, they will be completely different. Although she was surprised, Dugu Yan knew that she must not let the seeds fall in, otherwise when so many seeds exploded, she would be wrapped up and unable to move. Soul power surged, and her fourth soul ring bloomed. The green scale snake king screamed towards the sky, and countless snake shadows emerged from all around it, like thousands of snakes attacking, all rushing towards the falling seeds, opening their bloody mouths and swallowing all the seeds. Enter the belly. This is Yan Yan's fourth soul skill, it's too powerful. Looking at the countless jade-scaled snakes pouring out, Yu Tianheng swallowed hard. During previous sparring sessions, Dugu Yan had never forced her to use it. She didn't expect this new soul skill to be so terrifying. The number of green-scaled snakes was far beyond imagination. Chapter 19 Calculation. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Countless seeds were swallowed by the green-scaled snake, and the violent poison instantly withered it. While Dugu Yan was dealing with the fallen seeds, several huge vines sprang out from the blue-silver grass that originally enveloped Wu Xing, and rushed towards the mist in several directions. You want to disturb my concentration through the seeds in the sky? You are looking down on me. Sensing the vines coming from all directions, Dugu Yan chuckled softly. Her perception was greatly enhanced in the poisonous formation, and it was impossible to sneak attack her. In addition, the opponent could not see what was going on in the poisonous mist, so they could only rely on the unorganized attacks of the vines. On the other hand, she was not affected by vision. She jumped a few times. It was easy to avoid these vines. After continuously dodging the large vines that were attacking her, it seemed that the opponent also noticed this. The vines no longer sprang out from the buds. She also stopped dodging and stepped in front of a withered vine. The soul power is almost exhausted, now it's my turn. Seeing that the cane no longer attacked, Dugu Yan looked through the poisonous mist and looked at Wu Xing, who was wrapping herself. A smile appeared at the corner of her mouth. Her sight was never left there. However, she had to admit that the other party was very good. Knowing that she could use poison, she immediately wrapped herself up to avoid being exposed to the poison. But the idea was good, but the reality was cruel. Although doing so can effectively resist her green-scale snake venom, it also limits herself. As long as she cannot effectively control herself and her subsequent attack methods cannot keep up, she will become a living target for her. Second soul skill, Twin Snakes. Dugu Yan raised her hand slightly, and just when she was about to use her second soul skill to attack the huge bud, a voice sounded from behind her, making her whole body tremble. You lose. At some point, Wu Xing was already standing behind her, holding a dagger at her neck. When Dugu Yan turned around with difficulty and looked at the man with a smile on his face. She couldn't understand when the man came behind her and how he escaped her perception. Wu Xing did not answer Dugu Yan, but said lightly, "Take your poisonous mist back first. I don't want to be contaminated for too long." Although the jade scale snake venom is ineffective against him, after all, he can also use Dugu Yan's soul skills, and even the first 3 soul skills of Dugu Bo, but outsiders don't know, and he does not intend to expose too many of his trump cards. Hearing this, Dugu Yan didn't think much, his soul power converged, and the entire poisonous mist dissipated. As the poisonous mist dispersed, everyone under the ring saw the situation clearly. When they saw the dagger Wu Xing hung on Dugu Yan's neck, they all looked at each other in shock. They looked at Bei Lei who was shrouded in blue-silver grass, and then at Wu Xing who appeared behind Dugu Yan. Countless questions came to their minds. When did this guy get close to the goddess? They had never seen him before. The other party came out of the bud. Can you tell me now? Dugu Yan, who had recovered his soul power, turned around and stared at Wu Xing and asked, although she lost completely, she was shocked by such an inexplicable loss. She had to figure out how the other party did it, otherwise it would be too disturbing. Just imagine, this is not a competition, but a real battle. It would be horrifying for anyone to be attacked from behind and wiped on the neck like this at home. Putting down the dagger, Wu Xing pointed to the huge rattan that had not yet been retracted under his feet, and then said, "See for yourself." Dugu Yan followed the thick cane behind her that Wu Xing was counting on, and saw a hole in the cane. When she saw this, she immediately understood and was shocked. No wonder she couldn't find it, he actually came along the vines. I'm afraid no one would have thought that this could be done, right? Wait, then the other party entwines itself and releases seeds from the air. All of these are just feint attacks. In the end, they just want to get close to themselves and kill them with one blow. When Dugu Yan was shocked by Wu Xing's unbridled imagination, he suddenly thought of something again. His eyes widened in an instant, and he looked at Wu Xing like he was looking at a monster. If this is the case, the guy in front of you is really terrifying. Originally, transporting himself through a cane was an exaggeration enough, but by entangling himself, he first made others mistakenly think that the other party was in the bud, and then made a huge cane to scatter seeds from the sky, so that she could get used to this. The thick rattan distracted him again, and finally he focused on releasing his soul skills on the opponent, and emerged from behind, killing him with one blow. This guy's scheming is so terrifying, it's almost impossible to guard against him. I didn't lose unjustly. Dugu Yan calmed down and said slowly, when she faced Tang San before, she was very unconvinced and thought he was opportunistic, but she was convinced by Wu Xing. I accept. Wu Xing smiled and cupped his hands. The goddess lost? Did the deputy team admit defeat? Isn't this possible? I must be dreaming. Hearing Dugu Yan's words, everyone in the audience exploded. Who would have thought that Wu Xing, who was at level 31, actually defeated Dugu Yan? You must know that in terms of dueling ability, it is no exaggeration to say that she is the strongest in the entire Royal Academy. Even Yu Tianheng cannot compare with her. But now she has lost to the student who just joined yesterday, and she is still one level lower. The sole master of the great realm, ignoring the surprised people and the shocked looks of Yu Tianheng and others, Wu Xing walked down from the ring and came to Zhang Minghui's side. At this time, Zhang Minghui had not yet recovered from the result, until Wu Xing stretched out his hand and waved it in front of his eyes, and he was shocked. Won. We won. Wu Xing nodded amusedly. Brother Ben Yuan, you are too strong. Zhang Minghui exclaimed, his face full of admiration. He never thought that Wu Xing would win, but when the facts were in front of him, he couldn't believe it. It seemed that he won very easily. Zhang Minghui, who had already recognized the other party, immediately added some weight to his heart. Okay, it's getting late, we should go back. Seeing that Zhang Minghui wanted to say something flattering, Wu Xing quickly interrupted with a wave of his hand. Okay, Brother Ben Yuan. Seeing this, Zhang Minghui nodded immediately and left with Wu Xing. He knew that after the discussion just now, Brother Ben Yuan's name would be spread throughout the academy, and he had to build a closer relationship. After Wu Xing left, Dugu Yan also walked off the ring. At this time, Yu Tianheng and others quickly stepped forward and asked with concern, Yan, are you okay? Of course I'm fine. Dugu Yan rolled his eyes before he could, and then looked at Wu Xing's leaving figure. When several people heard this, they all breathed a sigh of relief. As companions, they knew Dugu Yan's character very well, and they were worried that the other party would be dissatisfied if they lost. Now it seems that they are overthinking. Until Wu Xing's figure disappeared, Dugu Yan slowly said to several people, this man is very strong. We will have opponents in the future. Hearing this, Lingling also subconsciously looked in the direction where Wu Xing disappeared, with a strange light shining in his eyes. It was the first time that Sister Yan Yan, who had always been arrogant, said such words. Chapter 20 Discovering Clues. You are listening at novelfull.audio. With Zhan Minghui's compliments all the way, Wu Xing returned to his dormitory. After the discussion just now, this guy almost became his loyal partner. After saying goodbye to each other, he opened the door to the dormitory and walked into the room. Wu Xing saw that Su Ruoxi had woken up. She was lying on the bed at this time, her bright and pretty face still looking a little tired. Seeing Wu Xing coming back, Su Ruoxi blushed and shyly covered her head with the quilt. Seeing Su Ruoxi's actions, Wu Xing couldn't stop laughing. This girl had eaten all the food, but now she felt embarrassed. When he came to the bed, Wu Xing sat down on the edge of the bed and reached out to lift the quilt. Seeing her cover her face subconsciously, he joked beforehand, "It's time to get up. The sun will set if you don't get up." After hearing this, Su Ruoxi slowly released her covered hands. Wu Xing was so charming, with a lustful look on her lips. Wu Xing felt an inexplicable impulse as he looked at her, wishing he could have a good fight with her again. In modern times, he can be considered a person who has dated several girlfriends. He should not be so impatient, but the woman in this anime is really attractive. Even if it is just a supporting role for 1 minute, it is not what the so-called goddesses of the contemporary era can do. Comparable, looking at Wu Xing's hot eyes, Su Ruoxi's originally red face turned pale instantly. She was really worried that the other party couldn't control her. If there was another fight, she wouldn't have to get up today. There is no way. This guy's ability is too strong. Her body is falling apart now. Fortunately, Wu Xing understood that this was her first time, so he strongly suppressed the idea of eating her and said, "Get up." "Yes." Su Ruoxi breathed a sigh of relief after hearing this, and then stood up carefully. Seeing Su Ruoxi's cautious look, Wu Xing couldn't help but smile and said, "Do you want me to carry you over?" "No. No need." Su Ruoxi shook her head quickly, gritted her teeth to suppress her discomfort, and entered the bathroom in a panic. Seeing Su Ruoxi entering the bathroom in a hurry, Wu Xing felt funny again. He shook his head and then opened the system. He hadn't updated his diary today, so he took advantage of this free time to complete the task. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Today's beauties are already accustomed to reading diaries, and they start reading them as soon as he updates them. Seeing Wu Xing's strong joy in the first line of his words, one could imagine the guy's cheeky smile, and they were all stunned. What could make him so happy? Dear beauties, are you surprised that I am so happy today? I have good news for you. I am no longer single. Out of singles. What is divorce? All the girls were stunned. After accepting the explanation of this word, their faces turned red, and they gave each other a fierce kiss. How long has it been since this guy traveled through time? Just found a girlfriend? Do you want it to be so fast? Could it be that someone found him and offered himself up? It's no wonder they think so. As the owner of a copy of the diary, their future achievements will be limitless. There must be many women who think this way, and from what I have learned about Wu Xing these days, if a woman offers herself to her, this guy will never refuse. This big pervert really pisses me off. He doesn't know how to keep himself clean at all. Ning Rongrong said angrily when she saw this. As for Wu Xing, she was one of the people who had some ideas. Apart from the fact that he was the owner of the diary, his innate level 30 soul power was enough for her to value. Now that someone had taken advantage of him, how could she be in a good mood? Ning Rongrong's angry look made Xiao Wu and Zhu Zhuqing dumbfounded, with strange expressions flashing on their faces, as if she realized that her behavior was too abnormal. Ning Rongrong's face turned red and she hurriedly explained to the two women, "Don't get me wrong, I'm angry because those women who have copies of the diary are so shameless, not because they fancy him." Naturally, the two women didn't believe Ning Rongrong's explanation. They were not stupid. They had long felt that something was wrong with the other party. After all, every time the diary owner talked about some women, she had the most violent reaction. Today, she was almost there. Empty the vinegar bottle. Rongrong, are you really interested in this guy? Xiao Wu couldn't help but ask. How is that possible? Ning Rongrong's mind was broken, and he suddenly shook his head like a rattle and said, who would fall in love with that big pervert? I just think he is so talented and want to get him into the Seven Treasures Glazed sect, but it seems that he is not available now. If there is a chance, I will be recruited by another woman. Oh. Ning Rongrong's explanation was very reasonable. Xiao Wu and Zhu Zhuqing, who were still skeptical at first, believed it. They knew the identity of the other party. As the daughter of Qibao Glazed sect, it was natural for them to consider for the sect. Without saying any more, the three women continued to read. Of course, don't worry, she is not the holder of a copy of the diary. I still love you. Girls, bah. Besides, I also met one of you today. Although he was stunning and beautiful, I was a little bit shocked. My diary rewards have been all messy for 4 days in a row, but your rewards are so good, the baby is unbalanced. Those who don't know, think that you are the owner of the diary and I am just a worker. When the women saw this, they were shocked again. Has the owner of the diary seen one of them? Do you also know that their rewards are very good? At this moment, the beauties from all over the world immediately began to think deeply. However, after thinking for a long time, they did not find any suspicious people they had come into contact with this morning. A certain dormitory in Tiandou Royal Academy, Dugu Yen had already returned to his room. After checking the diary update, he immediately approached Lingling again. When the owner of the diary said that he saw one of the women in the diary today, he was a little surprised, and then a figure appeared in his mind. Sister Yen, do you think he is that person? Lingling asked solemnly. Who? Dugu Yen was slightly stunned, unable to realize who she was talking about. That's the person I was sparring with you in the morning. Lingling replied. Hearing this, Dugu Yen was startled, and then said, are you talking about the origin? Yeah. Lingling nodded heavily. Impossible. Didn't the owner of the diary say that he saw one of us? Dugu Yen shook his head and said, she and Lingling are two people. Seeing Dugu Yen's denial, Lingling continued, but did the other party intentionally guide it? You mean he deliberately only talked about one person? Dugu Yen was surprised. Yes, Sister Yen, if you think about it carefully, he has a soul master with 3,000-year soul rings. Have you ever heard of such a magical thing before? Lingling analyzed Dugu Yen carefully. Also, the diary owner's innate soul power was level 30 a few days ago, and he is level 31. The diary owner just entered the human gathering place yesterday, and he just joined the Tiandou Royal Academy yesterday. Don't you think all of this is too coincidental? That Lingling was a thoughtful girl. If Wu Xing hadn't said he had met one of them just now, she wouldn't have thought of it. But after the other party said that, she subconsciously thought of the man today. The more Dugu Yen listened, the more he felt that this was possible. His eyes became brighter and brighter, and he stood up suddenly. Lingling, come with me. Where to go? Lingling paused. Of course we are sure about this, let's go find Zhang Minghui to verify it. Dugu Yen finished speaking seriously, with a sly smile on his lips. If the guy he was fighting today was really the owner of the diary, he would have been able to find it without any effort at all.